What is going on, everybody? Welcome to your Before the Battle, What the Heck's a Hoosier edition of the Coach and the Couch Potato, brought to you by the Barn Baseball and Softball Academy, Cornerstone Home Remodeling. As always, I am Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. Coach, technology sucks today. We've both had our issues. What is going on, sir?
Man, listen. Today has been a day. Public education is so much fun. I love every second of it. The kids are fantastic, but there are challenging days, just like any workplace, and so it's been one of those days, man. But I'm here. I'm here with my brother. We got a big game coming up. We are ready to go. I'm sick of all these pundits just writing us off like we're just going to go out there and get dog watched because we lost Seth McLaughlin. It's just like, oh my God, dog walked. Sorry, like because we lost Seth McLaughlin. It's just like, it's getting under my skin. But we got to let the pads do the talking, man. How are you doing?
I am hanging in there. Yeah, obviously we would be remiss if we didn't address the giant elephant that's not so much an elephant in the room anymore. Seth McLaughlin out for the year, torn Achilles. That kid, though, let me tell you about him. Last night, he's rolling around on the leg scooter already at practice. Yes, we brought Seth McLaughlin in to play center, but we brought Seth McLaughlin in to be a leader. And he is still leading. Speaking of leading, our friends up north, right as we hit record, probably we'll never know the true number. I have to assumably lead the world in the biggest NIL deal for a high school kid ever, because there's no other reason.
Absolutely.
That Bryce Underwood did just flip to Michigan. Bring it on. I mean, like we were talking before we went on, TSC and Bryce in a couple of years. Ohio versus Michigan. I mean, I'll take it.
I will take it.
Before we get there, a top 5 battle in the shoe on Saturday at noon. First time Indiana's ever been ranked in the top 5, so therefore it is their first top 5 matchup.
Okay.
As a program, obviously they are perhaps the most polarizing team in college football this year, given the seeds already being planted that if Indiana loses this game, they shouldn't be in the playoff. It's not going to happen. I hate to break it to you, unless they get absolutely boat raced, which I don't think is going to happen. But I don't know. It's just got those makings of, we worried when we lost Josh Simmons, and we're okay. I wouldn't say we're great, but we're fine.
Yep.
We're losing Seth McLaughlin, who, yes, like we said, leader, everything like that. But you're bringing a guy back into the position who played every game last year outside of the bowl game as the center.
Yeah.
And you're going to move Caravelle in.
Yeah, but, and that's the thing. Like, so with Carson Hinsman, he started 12 games for us last year as a redshirt freshman. I know we didn't, beat Michigan. We did not play well offensively in the playoff or in the bowl game. I totally get that. But he was the starting center on a 11-win team. He was a redshirt freshman, so he was a first-year player playing at one of the best programs in the country, if not the best program in the country, being asked to do a lot as a freshman. That's a lot to take on. And so the Buckeyes went out. We brought in Seth McLaughlin like we should have, right? Maybe Carson Hinsman played a year too early. Carson Hinsman sticks around. He becomes an Iron Buckeye. He sticks around and does what he needs to do to prepare himself for the opportunities that are going to be given to him. And what do you know? We need him all of a sudden to be starting at left guard, right? And what do we do against Penn State? We go out there, we win the rushing battle like we said we need to do in these big games, right? And so Carson Hinsman's playing with some fire, playing with some spunk. He's had multiple good weeks in a row. We're hit with another, gut punch, and it sucks to lose Seth McLaughlin. But to think that we're just going to lay over and roll over, and our offensive line is just going to become this sieve. I just don't believe that is going to be the case. Saravel's got 3 starts under his belt. Like, I think they made the right move going with experience. Obviously, was hoping that we would go with my guy Luke, but I can tell you right now that Luke is ready. He is ready to go. He is locked in. I've heard it on multiple podcasts. The Buckeyes are better equipped than they've ever been as far as the depth in the interior. We are equipped to handle these type of losses. Josh Padilla is good. Watches a few reps that he had against Northwestern. He's going to be a stud. Austin Sarabeld is good. Luke Montgomery is good, right? Obviously, we've got Tegra. Ian Moore is good. Like, we've got players on the interior that can play. And now it's time for Justin Fry to earn his paycheck. And he's been doing it all year long. So why would all of a sudden that not be the case? I get it. I understand. It sucks to lose Seth, but to think that, Carson Hinsman and Austin Sarabeld are just going to roll over and act like they don't have a chip on their shoulder, that's is a little mind-blowing to me. But, here we are. Let the pads do the talking, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, I can't remember what the quote was in reference to. I believe it was before the Seth injury. But I can't remember which lineman said it. It might have been Seth that said it, about you got to let your nuts drop. And that's what, this is about. These next 2 weeks define legacy. And if you don't think that those guys are going to be amped up, yes, I understand. It's Indiana. And there's every stigma in the world attached to it. 29 wins in a row against them. They've never been in the top 5 until now. Their coach is a walking one-liner. But Curt Cignetti wins everywhere he goes.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, you're Ohio State. And if you look at these rosters side by side, one of them is not like the other. Plain and simple. I hate to look at it like that because scheme can outweigh stars sometimes.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, Ohio State's the better program and it's the better team.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, I'm taking Ryan Day over Cignetti. Sorry about it. I mean,
yeah.
He just got paid. And like I said, comes from JMU. Great program. I don't know how many people that listen to us know what JMU has done recently, but JMU has been a squad. Actually had a former Buckeye on that. I don't know if he was there when Wayne Davis was there, though.
Yeah, that's a good. I don't know.
But Wayne Davis was a dog.
Yeah.
He was a dog.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I know you're a big Cignetti guy. So first impression of what Indiana brings to the table.
Yeah, I watched the Michigan game pretty closely, the Indiana-Michigan game from last week or 2 weeks ago. And, I will tell you this. Curt Cignetti does not lack for confidence, and that is something that is going to pay off dividends for him when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to his reputation and his rapport with his players and future players. I love the fact that he's out there, it's going to be bulletin board material for the Buckeyes, but like to say Purdue sucks and so does it Michigan and Ohio State. Like I love that feeling, that belief that he has in his kids and his program. And so listen, shout out to him for coming in and really riding the ship and doing some really good things. I think sometimes, those words, even with like Coach Prime, they get you caught up, they get you in trouble, they create a sense of pressure that the kids aren't often used to, right? And so that's one thing I'm going to pay attention to. But Curt Cignetti himself, like you said, he's won everywhere he's been. I have a lot of respect for him and his coaching staff. I said it before, their defensive coordinator is an Ohio guy. He's from Piqua. Coach Haynes, his brother Tyler Haynes, was actually the head football coach at Urbana University after I graduated. And so like they've got a ton of Ohio ties. They're doing a great job in recruiting. They recruited one of our guys up in Findlay, Baylor Wilkin, who's going to be going there as an offensive tackle. He's an absolute stud. So I've got the utmost respect for them. Offensively, Curtis Rourke is a player. I'm not going to lie. I thought he was a player when he was with Ohio. I thought they did a really good job of pulling him out of the portal. He's a really good distributor of the football. He's got sneaky mobility that he hasn't really had to show this season. So it's one thing I think the Buckeyes will have to be ready for. But I think Curtis Rourke is the engine, that is going to keep that thing moving. They've got really good receivers on the edge. They've got 2 receivers. Their names are escaping me, but there's a clip, and hopefully we'll be able to get to it where, in the Michigan game, this kid goes up and makes a phenomenal catch. So I can guarantee you they're going to test our guys down the field, and they can put up points. Defensively, they're going to be aggressive. Coach Haynes is an aggressive coach. They want to try to get penetration up front and create as many tackles for loss as they can. I believe they lead the Big Ten in tackles for loss and sacks. It might even be the nation. So they're really going to try to create penetration, especially with the Buckeyes doing a lot of inside zone things, outside zone. Penetration always kills those things. So I would look for the Buckeyes to really make some tweaks into the run game, some more gap scheme things that you can take away or take advantage of that penetration. But they're a good team, man. They are a good team, and the Buckeyes are not going to overlook this game. They deserve to be a top 5 team. They deserve to be a playoff team. And so the Buckeyes, are going to be locked in. And, like I said, a ton of respect for Cignetti, Coach Haynes on the defensive side of the ball. Just a really good coaching staff. I think they're doing it the right way, man, in the current age of college football.
Yeah, you hit on a couple of things. 31 sacks, 73 TFLs. But they do a lot of it with a 4-man rush. They don't blitz a lot.
Yep.
So that's going to be interesting. I think that sets it up to be a Will Howard game in all the ways. You're going to have to find holes in the defense to throw the ball, and you're going to have to run against them. As far as Rourke goes, guy's good. But you saw against the team up north that if you get to him, not just pressure, but you get to him, and you will see him look totally lost.
Yeah.
I think the other thing you hit on the mobility side of life, they were talking about that on 97.1 this morning. I think it was Bobby Carpenter. And, but what do you do in that situation? You spy a guy. Who do you spy a guy with? A linebacker. Who's the most athletic linebacker on the field? Sonny Styles. Perfect spy. If Curtis Rourke gets to run the ball like Dylan Raiola did at the start of the Nebraska game, might be a long day. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that, Coach Knowles is going to – because we are starting to see this build to being a Jim Knowles defense finally.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think, that's an element that the Big 12 always had, were those quarterbacks who might not be a quote-unquote running quarterback, but they're an athletic quarterback that can beat you with their feet. So you design to stop that.
Absolutely. It's almost like the Lamar Jackson effect, right? Lamar Jackson really forced defensive coordinators to look at the different ways that you attack a quarterback, right? So I'm not comparing Curtis Rourke to Lamar Jackson by any means, but Lamar really forced defensive coordinators to think, how can I best take away their ability to run the ball? Right. So when you see people play the Ravens, you notice that they really don't work to get upfield and get a bunch of penetration. They don't want Lamar Jackson going north and south. Right. They want him going laterally. OK, so you're going to see guys like spilling things outside. The Buckeyes will have a plan, especially coming off a game against Dylan Raiola a few weeks ago, where they did let up some big plays in the run game to Raiola, some scrambles and things like that. I can almost guarantee that Jim Knowles and the rest of the defensive staff has a plan of attack if he does run. I mean, I bet they have film from Curtis Rourke all the way back to Ohio. Obviously, Curtis Rourke played with Will Kazmarek. Will Kazmarek probably has a lot of information on things about him. And so there are going to be ways that the Buckeyes attack him. I think if the Buckeyes want to win this game and they want to really, create a lot of havoc, you've got to look at those different personnel packages, and you got to hit home with your pressures, right? You can't have missed tackles in the backfield. When you get your paws on them, you got to get them down. One of the things that I was listening to an interview that Caden Curry had, and Caden Curry said flat out, CJ Hicks has been working with me and the other defensive ends, working on his pass rush moves and things like that. I think you're going to see a guy like him be unleashed so he can really disrupt. I don't know if Mitchell Melton is going to play. I know there was some health concerns with him, But I just really think you're going to see the defensive line really work to create as much pressure. And I think Jim Knowles is going to do a good job of really attacking those gaps when it comes to blitzing that will force Curtis Rourke to have to step outside the pocket, in which if you have a Sonny Styles spying him, now that's a lot better position for Sonny to be in, because now you can chase him down and be on the near hip. And so there's so many different things that the Buckeyes are going to do. But defensively, it's really going to come down to eliminating the big play. Make them sustain drives. Do not allow them to get those chunk plays over top. And if we can do that, I think defensively we're going to be in a good spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, obviously Denzel Burke, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. You've seen Jermaine Matthews get a lot more burn lately.
Yep.
And I think whoever's the hot hand at corner, if you find one of them, you ride them. Because Indiana is going to throw the ball. Diving into that, they score points. They are averaging almost 44 points a game while giving up 14. Now, let me preface this with why they are such a polarizing squad. Yes, they are 10-0, but you have played FIU, Western Illinois, UCLA, Charlotte, Maryland, Northwestern, Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State, and Michigan. So out of those teams, the team up north, and this is even a compliment to them, I guess, is really the only team they've played with a pulse.
Yeah.
Especially on defense. And it was a 20-15 game that if Michigan remembers you're allowed to throw the football forward, they probably win.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Rourke had 16 yards in the second half of that game?
Yeah.
And Michigan. I mean, I just think, you don't go away from the run. You continue to exploit the lack of depth on their front four on defense. And then at that point, they start to bring somebody down in the box, and that's when you beat them over top.
Yeah.
There's just, to me, yes, they are a very good football team. No questions asked. Potentially, even with a loss here, are going to host a playoff game.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought that?
Yeah.
Indiana hosting a playoff game in the first 12-team playoff in December in Bloomington.
Yeah.
It's wild. Little deeper dive into their stats. Rushing yards. This is crazy. 177 a game. They've ran the ball almost 400 times already. 32 touchdowns on the ground. And then almost 300 yards a game, 277 through the air. They're only giving up 183 through the air and 72 on the ground. But again, I don't put a lot of stake into that because the teams they're playing, they got the best possible Big Ten schedule ever. I mean, if we're being honest.
They did.
There's no other way to put it. We talked about Rourke. Obviously he's their leader on offense. He did sit out a game for injury, but he's completing 72% of his passes, 21 touchdowns, 4 picks. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Rushing, They got a couple of dudes. Justice Ellison, 6 yards a carry, 70 yards a game. And they split the carries. That's what's crazy. They have 5 guys that have had a carry, 6 guys that have played in the backfield every game.
Yeah.
And then Tyson Lawton, 51 a game. Each of those guys have 9 touchdowns. And then but their long rush of the year is only 47, though. That's kind of interesting to me. Defensively, a couple guys. Let's see. Mikhail Kamara, 9.5 sacks. I mean, that's a pretty big number. That guy is a stud.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
And then Aiden Fisher, their number 1 tackler. So, yeah, I mean, they do a lot of things really well.
Yeah, they do a lot of things really well. I think with the obviously with the offense, I think Curtis Rourke is what makes her engine go. He's a man that's leading the charge. I think that the running game is sneakily good. I think sometimes they often gets overlooked because they've got some receivers out on the edge that can go make some plays. And this is all around a good, disciplined, well-coached team. So the Buckeyes aren't just going to roll out there and steamroll them by any means, but I have a sneakily good feeling about this game. Now, the one thing I will say, we're talking about the stats. I'm trying to get the Ohio State stats pulled up right now. Ohio State is right on par with them, and Ohio State has played a much tougher schedule. I believe Fox Sports or somebody put out that the Buckeyes had like the 28th ranked strength of schedule, and Indiana had, one of the bottom 118 or 120, something like that. I can't remember exactly what the number was. And so, I think there are a lot of those factors that are going to come into it. I think the one thing that we should really pay attention to, and I would encourage anybody, and we'll watch a few clips, but I would encourage people to go back and get on YouTube and watch the second half of the Indiana-Michigan game. Michigan's defense really did some things against Indiana that caused some fits. And like you said, if they had any other quarterback, if they had Bryce Underwood, they probably win the game. And that is one thing I really want Buckeye fans to pay attention to. They were down, the team up north was down 17-3 at halftime, and they lost 20-15. I mean, they completely shut down what Indiana wanted to do in the second half. Okay. And so that is one thing I really want us to pay attention to. That was the first time really this season that Indiana had been punched in the mouth, and they did exactly what they needed to do and go win the game. Right. But I wonder what it's going to be like when we do get a big play over top. Right. What is their response going to be going up against an offense that can go put up, 40 points a game? Right now, our offense is averaging 38 points a game, and we could be averaging 52 points a game if we really wanted to, right? You can see that the Buckeyes have really changed their offensive philosophy as far as tempo and ball control goes, which I think this is a game with the lack of depth up front that you do see Chip Kelly maybe play with some more tempo. You know what I mean? When it comes to our offensive line, I am obviously, hurt that Seth is out, but I do think our offensive line is equipped to be able to run the ball. Right? Do I think we're going to go rush for 250? Probably not. But if we can get between, 130 to 150 yards on the ground and really establish the run between our two running backs and our offensive line, add Will Howard into that, you're talking maybe 150 plus. If we get to those numbers, I think we win this game. They have not seen talent like we have. They have not seen it all season long. Some of these players have not seen it in their entire careers. And so this is going to be a big test for Indiana, no doubt about it. And I just think the Buckeyes are equipped to really take advantage of, some of the areas that our talent is just better than theirs. We have great coaches. We have one of the best offensive minds in the history of college football that is going to be ready for this game, right? So while some of us may be doom and gloom with our offensive line, having to shuffle again, remember who is our offensive coordinator. Remember who our defensive coordinator is. Remember the athletes that we have. Remember the players that we have. Remember all of those things. Remember why these guys came back to Ohio State to play. Remember that, because these are the games where, like you said earlier, where legacies are made. And I know Jack Sawyer, JTT, Will Howard, Denzel Burke, IGB, all these dudes who are really natty or bust this year, I'll be damned if they let their legacy be tainted, not by the team up north, but by Indiana, right? And that is something that is going to drive them. They see all the things that people are saying on TV. They see all those things. That's motivation. That's fuel. I don't think they're going to come into this game like, oh, we're just going to boat race these dudes. But I think they come into this game with more focus than they've had all season long. And to me, a focused Buckeye team is a dangerous Buckeye team. And so I'm just saying, don't count the Buckeyes out ever. Like, this is a good freaking team that we have, and I think we're going to show up on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said about tempo, I think you're going to see more tempo the next 2 weeks because with Michigan's defense, you get a situation where Mason Graham's off the field. Go tempo, keep him off the field. Force them to make the sub and try to get that 12th man penalty.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. I think you hit on I think this team truly has that culture to where it's a next man up, pick me up kind of thing.
Yep.
The line is 11.5. I just looked on FanDuel. I saw somewhere that it had dropped to 10, but I couldn't find that. I think the Buckeyes win. I think IGB gets a holding and a pass interference. I think he gets them both. But I think the Buckeyes win. I'm going to go somewhere, let's say 38-24.
Okay. That's a solid number. That was right in the realm of where I was going. I was going to go 34-23. I think there's like a couple field goals that Indiana gets, but we get some key stops in the red zone. I think this is a game where the Buckeyes really come out and truly try to establish themselves as one of the top programs in the country and really try to set themselves up for, the game that arguably everybody came back for, and that's to beat Michigan, right? But I guarantee you they're not looking past that because here's the thing. If we lose a game like this, do I think we still get in the playoffs? Yes. But I think it's very advantageous for us to win these next 2 weeks, right? And set us up to go get a home game. And so these are the things that I think the Buckeyes need to go do. I think, getting to Indy is a priority. It's got to happen to really set yourself up. I think the offensive line is going to surprise everybody. I love the way that they're talking. I love the way that the team is rallying around them. I love what I'm seeing. I love the fact that Will Howard's our quarterback. I think we're just better equipped for these games than we have been under Ryan Day in a long time. And that's not a knock on C.J. Stroud or any of the other guys that we've had under center. I think Will Howard just brings something that is very J.T. Barrett-like. And to me, J.T. Barrett, good, bad, or indifferent, was, in my opinion, one of the best quarterbacks the Buckeyes have ever had and arguably the best leader the Buckeyes have ever had. And so that is something that I really think is going to put us over the edge. I think the defense is going to go out and get stops. I think you see Caleb Downs have a really big game. And I also think you see C.J. Hicks have a big game as well. And this is a perfect time for our guy JTT, for Jalen to go out and really establish himself as the freak of nature that he is, because he's had some good games, but he hasn't had that breakout game. And I think this is just made for him. And so I think the Buckeyes are going to get it done 34-23. And then we're ready for the team up north, man. So I'm excited for this one. I'm juiced, man. It's going to be a fun one.
It's wild, man. Yeah, who would have ever thought we would be amped up for an Indiana game? But
I know.
Yeah, I think there's the potential there. And, Knowles even came out this week and basically said, yeah, C.J. Hicks is an end. He's not officially, but in Knowles speak, he did. And Bobby Carpenter, again, to go back to, I love listening to Bobby Carpenter because he's so straight to the point. He basically said, you started to see it, like we said earlier, you're starting to see the Knowles defense. He goes, I think next year this is a full Jim Knowles defense.
I agree.
With what you've got coming in, which before we get into film, real quick, we hit on it Sunday. Zahir Mathis did decommit. You hate to lose anybody at this point because you do have the number 1 ranked class still. We don't claim to be insiders. We're not insiders. So I just relay information for the people I trust when I hear it. And I've been listening to Berm a lot this week. And Berm said Ohio State is not going to pay for a guy who is 2 or 3 years from contributing. And he basically also said they're not going to pay for London Merritt any more than they've already agreed to. So if he wants to leave, Quincy Porter, That one could get real interesting because
Yeah.
I don't think Ohio State's going to overpay.
I don't think so either.
The two guys they have said that they are willing to pay for, as far as guys that are flip candidates, are TJ Alford and Jarquez Carter. So it's going to be an interesting couple weeks until December 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, man. And the one thing, there, like you mentioned, with Mathis dropping out, I think it opens the door for some Ohio kids, and I think that I think it's very important. Obviously, an offer went out to Chaz Coleman, hybrid freak of nature athlete from Warren G. Harding up in Cleveland area. 6'5", 225 pounds. He is being recruited to be that jack for us because I think they're really starting to see the importance of having somebody like that. And he's a special player. He's committed to Penn State. Hopefully we're able to flip him because I think he would be somebody that we would really benefit from having in this class. The other kid that the Buckeyes have coming this week, I think it is the cornerback from the Cincinnati commit, Jordan Woods. Special player, I don't know if this is like in case Naeem Alford leaves or whatever, but it's another kid that if we are able to get him, underrated kid who's a dog, 6'3", almost 6'4", playing corner. You bring him with Devin Sanchez, and now you're looking at a secondary that has got a lot of length to it. And so it's interesting, man. Today, or was it yesterday, the executive order from Governor DeWine about NIL, that the schools in Ohio are able to pay their players now directly. So like Ohio State's able to pay them. I don't know how that's going to work, but that will definitely affect, the NIL world for us in a positive way. And then, the scholarship increases that we're going to see. I think you're starting to see the Buckeyes already start to shift their mindset when it comes to recruiting into a true NFL GM type of system, right? Where we're going to pay for those top guys. And if you don't fit that criteria of being, a top 3 guy that we're going to pay an obscene amount of money for, then we're going to move on and find somebody else. I don't think the Buckeyes will ever pay somebody $10+ million to come to school there. I really don't. I think what we saw with Bryce Underwood, I think is like a one-off. I don't think there's going to be a lot of schools that are really doing that. Obviously, they've got, with Barstool and however you say his last name, Portnoy or whatever, they're able to drop a ton of money into that kid. But the Buckeyes are really starting to change that mindset. And so I'm excited, man. I want to see more Ohio kids get offered. I got a couple at Olentangy. We've got a couple at Olentangy that I think, would look good in scarlet and gray. But, that's just me. I don't know. I coach football at the high school level. I don't recruit and make millions of dollars. Right. Okay, so we're going to dive into this. So typically we watch our film from the previous week, but I don't want to watch Northwestern. Just going to be really transparent about that. I don't want to watch a Northwestern game. Everybody knows what we did, right? Played in Wrigley Field, great. I want us to get a sense for Indiana, all right? So if you look at this right now, coming out, this is the start of the second half. Indiana was up 17-3. Michigan had come out on the first drive, didn't really do much. They get the ball back, or Indiana gets the ball back, and, they're going to start the drive. If you look at the structure of the defense, right, you see the structure is very similar to what we're going to see. The difference for these guys is these two players right here in the middle. Mason Graham and what's the other guy's name? I'm blanking on it. Yeah, Kenneth Grant. They're two of the best. Yeah, they're two of the best defensive tackles in the country. They have potential to be game wreckers, and I will tell you, they played very well. And so, if this is really choppy, I'm really sorry. I'm on a different computer that's very slow. Okay, but first play of the second half. Okay, they come out. They try to do. Oh, it's going really slow. Great. They try to do a simple RPO. Curtis Rourke throws it right to the defense. Okay. This is the first play of the second half. Okay. This is something that the Michigan team was able to take away. Michigan's playing some good coverage there. You're going to see the Buckeyes playing a lot of cover one. I think this is something that you're going to see Indiana try to do against us. The one thing I want to point out is that Michigan was able to take advantage of the opportunities that were given to them. They just don't have the greatest offense in the world. All right. Michigan is just not that good offensively. All right. Here's going to be a different view. Again, sorry if this is really lagging behind. Just a different view. Simple RPO. Yeah, he's reading that outside backer. I don't know what made him think he had this open because it looks like it was covered from day one. All right. But you can see Curtis Rourke, he can make mistakes too. Okay. I know he's very good, very talented, but he can make mistakes. All right. So they come out, throw a pick. Now they got to get back, figure this out. This is really the first adversity that they had faced. Now, one thing I want to point out, you see it right there on the screen, 17-6. Michigan got the ball on the 7-yard line and could not score a touchdown. Okay, they had to settle for a field goal. I don't see the Buckeyes being in that predicament. All right, so Indiana comes back out. Let's see what they do. Again, look at the structure of the defense. Very similar to what you're going to see from Ohio State. They got their safety up around the box. Okay, you're going to see a lot of that with Caleb Downs. You get a little outside zone action here. Okay, you get a little outside zone. This is something that I do think they're going to try to do to the Buckeyes. That's why it's so important that the Buckeyes stay gap sound. The running backs, if they get vertical, they can really cause some issues. See if we can see the different angle of this. Like you said, we love technology here on the Coach and the Couch Potato podcast. All right, that's just a good run. Really blocked well up front. Take advantage of an aggressive offense or defensive line. The one thing I really like about Indiana's offense is that they play without fear, right? They don't fear anybody. Okay, again, you see Michigan, very similar structure to what we are going to show. Your typical 4-2-5, you got your four-man front, you got your Sam linebacker walked out. Now, this is something that I love about their running backs. They run extremely hard. All right. So it's going to be imperative that the Buckeyes are out there doing a good job of tackling. Okay. Doing a good job of tackling. Because if we don't, we could be in a world of trouble. But as you can see,
the missed tackles are scary against them.
They are very scary. We cannot expect to win the game if we have missed tackles. Okay, we'll watch a couple more clips. Again, we're sorry about this. I don't know why it's going so slow, but, we'll push through. Okay.
That's all we can do.
That's all we can do is keep pushing. The one thing, again, I cannot reiterate this enough, that this offense is very good. All right, now, we've seen multiple different formations out of this, out of Indiana. One thing I like that they do, all right, this is an unbalanced formation here, okay? So you notice that there is the guard and the tackle. There's nobody on the outside. The tight end is actually to the three receiver side, okay? So one thing that you guys will need to pay attention to, if you see a tight end and then you see an outside receiver that is lined up on the line of scrimmage, that means that this tight end cannot go out for a route. It's what's called being covered up. If he is covered up, it means he's obviously going to likely be staying in and blocking, okay? And so now it's really just a three-man route concept if they do actually throw the ball, obviously with the back out of the backfield as well. Okay, so when you see this unbalanced formation, you have to expect they're trying to do some sort of max protect, or they're doing it to really get an extra hat in the run game. I think Indiana does a good job of really showing different looks. Okay, now they do another RPO, something simple and quick. I think you're going to see the Buckeyes play a lot of man coverage against these guys. And when you get those RPOs, I think we are good playing man coverage on the underneath routes. It's when we get hit with double moves and things like that that the corners really got to make sure that they're locked in and taking care of business.
Yeah, Denzel and IGB are going to be under immense pressure in this game.
Immense pressure. All right, we're going to stop it right there because this just keeps loading and loading and loading, and it's making me so mad right now. But the one thing that we really have to pay attention to is the Buckeyes are equipped to win a game like this. We have some of the best coaches in the country. We have some of the best athletes in the country. It's important for us to not lose sight of that. This Indiana team is a well-coached team, but we are too. And I think you're going to see the Buckeyes rise to that occasion. Take away the big plays on defense. Don't let them get any shots down the field. Really limit to slow down the run game. You got to get off the field on third down. You cannot give up third down conversions like we did up against Northwestern, right? You got to find a way to get off the field on third down. If they get into the red zone, limit them to field goals. Offensively, push the ball down the field. All right, take advantage of them down the field and run the freaking ball. Get that offensive line lathered up, ready to go. Get them playing confident, because if we do and we take care of the football, you're going to see the Buckeyes win by double digits. I truly, truly believe that. I don't think it's going to be 2021 Michigan State where we were number 4 and they were number 7 and we're up 49-0 at halftime.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be that. But I think we are the better team and that the Buckeyes are going to show that on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I just think that at some point talent matters, and this is a game where talent matters. Next week, yes, talent matters, but there's so many variables next week, and man, I want to be like amped up for next week, but I got to be amped up for this week first. So,
yeah.
The other caveat to it is Indiana coming off a bye week,
Yeah,
I'm so tired of every time we play somebody important, they seem to have a bye week before us.
Yeah.
But just like, we used to always get Penn State right before Michigan, and they would get, the Michigan school for the deaf or whatever. I mean, that's SEC scheduling. But yeah, I'm excited. We're 36 hours away now, give or take. And by the time you guys are hearing this, we'll be like 32 hours away or 30 hours away. So, go Bucks, bring it home, and tell Kurt Signetti to Google the results on Sunday. And that is all I've got. And if you don't get that reference, Google it. And we will see you guys next week for an opening drive. And some other things next week.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Let's we're not gonna put the spoiler out there yet, but the irons are hitting the fire, you guys.
Absolutely.